It's in the middle of 2020, and my bar here, Le Pub on Soy Diamond, has just been able to reopen after being closed for about 3 months, I think. And we were open, but with really big restrictions. I've talked about those restrictions in a previous video last week on this channel. There was girls in go-go bars dancing behind plastic screens, and we had to space out all the tables in the bar, and it was all a little bit weird. I've previously referred to this time, this period in the middle to the autumn of 2020 as the golden era of Pattaya, and everybody that was here at the time agrees with me. It was the best time ever in Pattaya, and let me explain why. It was like we were kind of marooned on a desert island. A lot of the staff in the bars and all the industries here in Pattaya weren't able to return home because the village elders were saying, no, please don't go, come home and bring the pandemic with you, stay where you are. So they were sort of staying put, and it was a bizarre thing where people in the villages were sending money home to the people in Pattaya, which is usually the other way round. But anyway, there was that, and there wasn't really a lot of Westerners here. There was expats who hadn't returned home, but there were no tourists because tourism still wasn't open, the borders were closed, and it was like the bars were open, but there wasn't really anybody in them, and everybody was very happy, and just basically there was no stress, there was no coaches or traffic on the roads. And I know it sounds weird, but it's like that old Charles Dickens quote, you know, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was kind of good. And during that time, I remember sitting down inside the bar here on Soy Diamond with an old friend of mine who I'd known for a while, and he'd got a YouTube channel which was called Balloon Chaser, and he'd started it, and he was kind of offering up good offers, good promotions for people who were looking for a bit of a bargain, hence the name Balloon Chaser. He also had another English language YouTube channel, so he knew a lot about YouTube, and he says to me, you know what, you really should consider promoting your bar on that social media. There was a lot of bars that were doing live streaming then to try and keep going and to try and sort of keep in contact with the people back home who weren't able to get here. So the YouTube channel Le Pub Pattaya was born, and I was thinking at the time that maybe at some point we're going to have to go once again into some kind of lockdown. All the signs were there coming in, the figures were going up, people were panicking. And again, please let me say, I don't want this to turn into a political thing or a conspiracy theory kind of video, but at the time that was how it was, and I'm just telling you the facts of what it was like for me, my experiences here and about the business. The girls, there was a few girls that were living upstairs in the bar. There were a few girls that were sort of getting on, just living from hand check to hand check really, and there were people that were queuing up for food, and it was, like I said, it was a difficult time, but it was also a great time because there was a huge feeling of community spirit here in Pattaya. Well, my worst fears were realised, and on the 30th of December, so get this, 2 days before New Year's Eve, we were told that we had to close the entertainment areas as well, and it was going to last for about 11 months. But of course, at the time, we didn't know that it was going to last that long, and I always refer to it a little bit like it was a prison sentence. We were sort of locked here, we couldn't go home, it was difficult to travel anywhere, we hadn't really got any money, it was tricky. But it was a prison sentence where you didn't know how long the sentence was, when you would be released. It was just that uncertainty of when we were going to be able to get back to any sort of normality that was a real difficult time. During the first few months of that lockdown, I seriously considered just giving up and going home. I remember I had a bit of a tearful meeting with my YouTube buddy Balloon Chaser, and I'd made up my mind. I was going home, and that was it. I just sort of packed up. It was so bad. We'd spent a year open, closing, and now we were in the same position as we were a year ago. We hadn't got any better. There was the question mark about vaccinations and all sorts going on, and it was just like, this is just too bad. I can't really deal with it. But I remember the conversation I had on the first day when we were told to close back in March of 2020, and my landlord called me on the phone, and he says to me, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Stay with the bar, just stay with it. When you've got some money, you can pay some rent. But there's 3 things that I want you to remember. Number 1, I'm your friend. Number 2, I'm your friend. And number 3, I'm your friend. And I remembered that quote, and I thought, you know what? People have kind of stuck with me and believed in me, so let's just keep on going. And to be honest, the community spirit was coming through on the YouTube channel. We were doing live streams by then. We were televising the pool table. When we couldn't do that because of restrictions, we went out onto the beach and we started doing volleyball and then ping pong, and it was just crazy times, but nice times, because there was this feeling that something was building. It was a nice community spirit, and everything, positive vibes was coming from all around the world to try and keep things going. And I've never really felt that before, but it was amazing. And if I've never said it to you before, I'll say it to you now. Thank you very much to everybody that did watch, that supported. It was an incredible time. And sometime during this time when we were locked down, I think it was about May, I just woke up and I said, look, let's have a real critical thing. Let's go through this in my head. What is going to happen in the future? We didn't know when we were going to be able to open again, sell alcohol, have music. What did I think was the likeliest scenario? And I thought the likeliest scenario is that they're going to open coffee shops and restaurants first, and people will be able to sit down and have a meal but won't be able to sell alcohol. I thought, okay, I've got a food license here, let's just open as a coffee shop. So nobody told me to, nobody said I could. I just opened as a coffee shop, and I was here outside the bar where I'm sitting now. I put the coffee machine in the front so people could see it. I put a little bit of advertising. I remember I had a smart speaker playing Radio 2, and I just opened, and it was almost like, you know, it was a community centre here. People wanted to come and just talk, and that was one of the things that I'm quite good at, actually. So that's what we did. And I think, like, days went by, and I'm not going to name the people, but we almost had like the same people popping in every day, just having a soft drink, having a coffee. I'm not here to point fingers at anybody, but there were other bars and all that were open selling alcohol. We didn't do that here because I'm just a bit boring, really, and it's not what I do. But we sat here and we had this wonderful community spirit, almost like, you know, when you see soap operas, and in a soap opera there's always a pub that is the centre of attention, there's the place where everybody gathers, and it was kind of like that, really, the same characters coming in. It was good, but of course the big thing underlying everything at the time was we didn't know when we would be able to open again, so we were a little bit concerned about the future. I remember sitting here in this very seat and saying, do you know, when we're actually open and when we're able to serve alcohol again and the borders will be open, we're going to be moaning about we've got no girls, there's going to be traffic jams all over the place. And guess what? That all came true. Anyway, with the combined efforts of opening as a coffee shop, a little community centre, as I like to call it, and having all the publicity from the live streams, finally, on the 2nd or the 3rd of December 2021, we were able to actually open and sell alcohol legally. And at the time, Walking Street was completely dead. Places like Cozy Beach had started to open. The restaurants there were open and selling soft drinks. And to be honest, they'd taken a bit of a leap. And if I have any criticism at all, it's of a lot of the businesses on Walking Street who didn't bother to open. They could have done. Other businesses did, just selling soft drinks, and they did very well, me included. But they didn't, and so they were all closed. And so it took them a while to get going and to open up again. But here, we were already kind of open, and we had the staff, and we had publicity. And I can tell you that from the 3rd of December until the end of December, that period, we probably made as much money as we had lost throughout the whole of those sort of 18 months. Not quite, and I've never kind of worked it out, but it was so busy. This bar was absolutely packed every single night. It was probably the best month I've ever had in the whole of the time here. And because I was prepared, because I hit the ground running, we were able to open, and I had all the licensing in place as well. So we made it through the other side, and the legacy of all of that is I still have my little YouTube channel. We're pushing on 24,000 subscribers now. We've got a very healthy membership. The bar has gone really, really well. We actually came outside the other end of the pandemic a lot stronger than when we went in. It was always a busy bar here. We always had a lot of people here. It was always a continental little soy here on Soy Diamond. A lot of Swiss people, Germans, French. Kind of those people have disappeared now, but we still do really, really well here. A lot of the bars that were closed and just falling apart around us have come back to life and are doing really, really well. A lot of bars are still closed, and some have changed hands. But it is a time of huge reflection. There were times when there was, at the very worst, during the lockdown, we had to be in bed by 9 o'clock. And I remember that I used to sleep here because I hadn't got any internet in my condo. So I used to sleep on the sofa here and just watch YouTube and what things. And I remember sometimes I used to sneak out onto Walking Street, and I used to sneak out and look around me, and it was like being on a movie set, but without the character actors there. It was amazing. I used to see a security guard outside of iBar, a security guard outside of Lucifer, and literally that was it. Nobody else. And now, sometimes Chinese New Year, Loi Katong, Songkran, Christmas, fireworks, you go onto Walking Street and you literally can't move with all the people. And in a way, it's kind of a bad thing for me, because if anybody sort of starts yakking me or talking to me about Walking Street and is, I always think, hold on a minute, this is my yard, this is mine, right? I was here before you. I was here when there was nobody here, and please don't come to me and start telling me what to do. And my business was open and yours, all yours were closed. By the way, that's a really bad attitude to have, because you think you're superior to everybody else. But in a way, I do feel that when you come to Walking Street, you're kind of walking on my place. Does that make sense? There's a huge connection for me and this area here now because of what we went through. Let me know your comments. What happened to you during that time down in the comments down below. Don't make it a conspiracy theory thread. I'm really not interested. You can go on other YouTube channels to talk about that. But for me, Mr. Egg, thank you for watching, and we'll have some other stories about this town and my memories next week. And don't forget, if you want to join the members, there's a membership area of this channel where you can get extra content, including live streams and vlogs about running a bar, real time vlogs, the truth about running a business here in Pattaya, and that all starts from just £2 a month. So it's really good quality content, and it's not expensive either. So please come and join us in the members area. Press the join button on the homepage. But for me, Mr. Egg, right here and Soy Diamond, take care everybody. See you next week. Bye.